we have a knowledge that more people should know to be able to find peace in the world that is full of wars, full of corruption, full of pain and suffering. I believe this is very crucial. Maybe we'll talk about it and share, and I hope it will help some of you.
Specifically talking about how children are groomed into hierarchical technological systems, which result in fear mindset and mistrust, and how this is predominantly coming from their educational systems and nationalist mindsets and the economic systems of the world today. So, and also the message of hope, how we can live differently, perhaps. So we have a few questions that we've put together. We'll talk around. So I'd like to ask you first, if you're open to it, and then I can maybe give my ideas.
Sure.
So I understand that you work in education systems, and then we have all gone through them. So from your experience in education systems, personally and professionally, can you say a little bit about when children start to lose their trust in their natural self and then start being motivated by a fear-based mindset?
I don't see any distinct stage where children are brainwashed. I think every interaction with this culture involves brainwashing. Even when we are infants in our mother's womb, the hormones, the fears, etc. of mother, we get affected, and it has a long-term impact on our feelings. When our mother is suffering, depressed, and fearful, it affects us in the long term. When we become, let's say, elderly, we can still have those scars, let's say. And then we are born into our parents' family. They have their own struggles. You see them stressed. You see them, struggling. You absorb all this because we are feeling-based beings. We just, when you're a kid, especially when the logical brain is not fully developed, you are almost fully feeling-based. You absorb everything and you integrate it to your personality because you are looking for examples. And, and then you go into the education system, and there they really give you like the division mindset, the competition mindset, to seal it off, to seal the trauma, everything, to finish it off. And then you get out of the education system and you are ready to be drawn for the technological civilization. I mean, many people might think that what I'm saying sounds extreme or like too dramatic. But if you are honest with yourself, what's going on, you realize that, this is true, like, objectively true.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't think it's too shocking, just from observing children and to see a little baby, they're just looking around, even looking at their own hand. It's like amazing. They're just this open field of wonder. And of course, they've taken on whatever, emotional stress the mother was carrying, all these environmental factors. But in a way, they're not really judging too much. They're absorbing. I was just reading a book recently when somebody loses, there's a winner and a loser in a war, and the war criminal, whoever is put on trial after, is only the one who lost. So the winner doesn't suffer any consequences, even if they killed lots of people. And I was thinking about this in family systems, when there's a mother and a father, a little baby or a child looks at the mother and the father in an argument, and whoever loses the argument is the bad one, because we need to survive. So we want to learn how the winners do that. And so I think even just taking in what's happening in these little conversations in families, children pick up defenses and judgments and the idea that there's a winner and a loser. And of course, in school, that's how the education system works. There are people who get a good grade and people who get a bad grade. And if you get a bad grade, you don't go forward. So there's consequences. It's yeah.
Yeah, it's very obvious.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
obvious, actually. Yeah. I don't think that anyone who loves their kid would allow such a thing. But we are forced by law to do this, and people just tend to ignore because it's easier to ignore than, otherwise it will create huge suffering. I believe this is the case that people ignore things that cause huge suffering and avoid addressing it. That perpetuates that toxic system, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And I think a lot of these consequences, they aren't necessarily actually threats. They are believed threats,
Mm,
you know?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like exclusion from society is a huge instinct in people. It's basically like because we are social animals, it is an instinct. So it is like in our reptilian brain, right? So it's so deep, and people don't realize. I think we will touch to this a little bit as well, to be aware of what you are feeling.
yeah.
Not just go along with your feelings, but be aware. Right? Just create that space to realize what is going on with you, because we are so focused on education system as well, like focuses us to just focus on outside instead of inside. But when we start thinking that way, that how am I feeling, why am I feeling that way, etc., I think it helps to create that space, and then you can manage your fears better and act in the right ways.
I think that really nicely brings us to the next question about how I've heard you speak in your videos online, which I highly recommend other people check them out, referring to these systems that we're living in as cults, various kinds of cults. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, why do you use that word? And how does it play into the fact that it seems today our personal worth is really tied into how well a person serves this technological industrial system?
Yes. So cult again might seem like a strong word to use, but it is what it is. It is a cult. We are living uh, under the cult of technology, and uh, it is a cult because, despite the ongoing evidence that it is destroying Mother Nature, it is causing a 6 month extinction, people still subscribe to it. People still follow it almost unquestioningly, like trusting full with almost like full trust. But these days with AI, etc., people start complaining. But I mean, uh, because it gives us goodies, as they say, right, comfort, etc., in the short term at least. It takes more than it gives, but people are conditioned to focus on on the benefits. So they think that this is the way to go. It gives us basic needs. It gives us food, clean water, etc., to the human population, growing human population. But in the past, of course, we had these things. Nature was providing us. As we went away from the balance of nature, we drifted away from that harmony. Um, we more and more started relying on technology to obtain our needs, even our basic needs. And I think this is an important driver for people, that they think that technology is the solution to everything. But they don't see the big picture that, okay, it was working for a little while, just like any other addiction works for a little while. But where is this going? Right? You just drink alcohol, let's say, and for a little while you feel good. And after years of drinking, your health deteriorates. This is what's going on with technological civilization. It is an addiction. It is a literal addiction by its full definition, and it is a cult because people don't question where are we going with this. They just trust blindly, right? And it has a charismatic leader that is the technology, right? The science technology, and we just trust like it is God. It can create anything, it can do anything, create wonders, no limits, right? This type of thinking, many people think that way. And if you think that way, you are in a cult, full-blown cult, unfortunately.
Wow, excellent answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been reading about the way that the capitalist and consumerist mindset has become a complete belief system. And that the one region in the world that rejects this the most is Africa. And the people of Africa have been punished severely for not adopting the capitalist system. And the tactic is to try to convince the people that the technology and the money system is the best way to go, and that we get all these benefits from taking on this system. And the people of Africa are so amazing because they say, I'm not buying it. Literally, I'm not buying that idea. And they have held out more than any other culture. And again, they've been penalized the most, punished the most. So I think we can really learn something from those people in the way they say, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that's the best way to go. And I think you and I have both, I'm coming from a history of addiction and recovery that I could see, okay, this beating my head against the wall with these things that are promising to give me peace, that never really give me lasting peace. What else is there out there? And it's like, I don't think money is it. I don't think objects is it. I don't think that science is it. Like, what is it? And something that I think I can learn from the people of Africa too is that they've kept with their tradition, they've kept with their spirit as stronger, community as stronger and more real. So I think these are the questions that really helped me get out of the cult, is asking, what is real? What is really real? What is not just told to me is important. So it's this curiosity that children show us so naturally. We all come from that. And I think we can really use it. We can really use it to leave the cult.
Leaving the cult is quite difficult at this point because, as I said, once you start, it's like there is an effect. What is it called? When you withdrawal effect. When you withdraw suddenly from addiction, you might even die. Like it can be a serious issue. So, we are addicted literally to technology. We had some chance before, but now we realize almost too late, and we need to just undo it. We must decide and follow it. And there is some caveat with technology that it gives power to psychopaths. It gives power to cruel people. When you say, okay, I'm not going to use technology, I will undo it, I will live more harmoniously with nature, minimalist, etc. Those who don't say it, those who say, I want technology full, they develop and they take over. That's the disadvantage that we are in with, either we gain the hearts of the majority of people and wake them up, make them realize what's going on, or Mother Nature will take care of it, basically the collapse phase. And unfortunately, I don't want to comment on what will happen, but it seems very difficult to wake people up. But if we can wake up a few, it is still something.
Yeah, I think this is really, I hear this all the time. And the feeling like it's too big to really fight or change, especially just by rejecting technology. Practically, that doesn't make sense. I use technology for my job. I can't just reject technology. I could, but it wouldn't maybe help as many people as it could, because one of my main messages is to help people wake up. And I think on a practical level, starting with our own shift. I do believe there's a collective harmony that we're living in because we are not separate from nature, and that there are waves of change that come through us in every interaction that we have. And that when I'm in the presence of somebody and I am experiencing peace and not fear, then I can see a change in that person. I can just see them opening up a little bit. And I think that this is the most practical change, is that when I am just here, absolutely here for you, I'm not here for you with a motive, but if I can aspire to that, be open, completely open and real and true, and see them for the essence that they are. I think it's a magnifier. I think it magnifies truth. We mirror back to each other, and that can spark something that's more, I think it's more powerful than just dropping technology. And I really think that like powers, governments, they don't have anything to fight that with. They don't have a weapon strong enough to fight that.
People ask me, I receive this comment many times. They say, if you are so against technology, why do you have a YouTube channel? Why are you recording and publishing these things, right? So I say that, I give an example, for example, I say, imagine that someone with a knife attacked you, and you also had a knife, and you use it to defend yourself, and you fought, you killed the person, and you got injured very seriously, right? And you are in the hospital. I would say, I wish they didn't exist. So technology is exactly the same. It shouldn't exist, ideally, because it destroys nature, it's not sustainable. I will also touch on the exponential growth of technology, that how it is inherently, it must grow because it creates more problems than it solves. That's the core idea that I try to give in that documentary, that technology is basically creating more and more problems each passing day, and this is not sustainable. Right? We can't just keep mining, we can't just keep, the agricultural practices that we have now and expect to survive, let's say, towards the end of this century. So in a way, as I said, we can't just hope that we will keep this lifestyle with technology. So it has to be undone one way or another. It is totally okay for me to use it to spread awareness, because in that example, you are defending, you are basically trying to, we are just basically trying to unplug people, trying to wake them up. And doing this through technology doesn't mean that technology is sustainable.
Yeah, that really gets me curious about, in the example you gave of the knife fight. In the example of the knife fight, I'm thinking of being attacked by someone with a knife it's terrifying. And acting from instinct is to fight back, of course.
Yeah.
I want to be living less from instinct. I want to be living from something that is a bit higher, a bit wiser. So I'm wondering for you, and then for maybe people listening, what is your perspective on how to deconstruct that dependence on technology, not coming from fear, not coming from instinct? Do you have a way that you do this, or a way that you stay in touch with that?
The way I try to do it is the same way you do it with, we must realize the harmony. That's the most important thing. Many people don't even realize that there is a harmony to be respected out there. There is a literal harmony, just like the harmony in our bodies, right? For example, let's give alcohol an example. Why alcohol is bad? Because it is unnatural. It is technology. We must realize the harmony. That's the first thing. If we don't know harmony, we don't have any reference. We are lost. So that harmony is Mother Nature, as how things are supposed to be. Just like when we know that we must drink water, but not alcohol. That is the guidance, and that we must realize that we are one. When you realize the harmony, meaning the interconnectedness of things and the similar nature of things, you realize that once, like, you affect others, and those effects return back to you. You create, literally, you create a wave when you act when you do anything. You just create a wave in this universe, and it comes back. I give the example of a lake, a very still lake. Imagine a very still lake, and someone just throws a stone in it, and that creates a wave, like propagating circular wave. And then what people do with technology, so that stone is basically the first technologies, right? And what people today is trying to do is to kill those waves, to revert back to stillness by throwing more stones to the waves. They just say, okay, let's throw more stones and we'll just kill this wave. Well, you create more and more waves. So how can you make the lake still if you keep throwing the stones? We must just stop throwing the stones if we want to be still, peaceful. And this is an analogy to our situation. And that's the thing that we must, again, it all comes back to harmony and oneness, connectedness. They all mean the same thing to me. The consciousness, the feelings, we must realize that this is not a material world. I mean, it's a material world, but at the same time, just yin and yang, right? It has two sides. It's feeling world as well. I don't separate them from each other.
Just say something about your analogy. It's really great. I really like it a lot, and I haven't heard this.
I came up with it.
It's fantastic, especially because I have this wise friend. He does YouTube stuff too, Paul Hederman. He talks about self, meaning ego. Self can't get out of self. So self would be the identity of the person who drops all technology, or the person who becomes a vegan and their identity is a vegan. Like people who take a new identity, they're throwing another stone into the water. They're just adopting something that is the idea of me being good to fight something bad. And I think that is staying in, it's a step better, perhaps, but I think when the identity is still, I'm separate from you, there are good people and there are bad people, it's stepping farther from oneness. It's reinforcing the separateness. And I think that coming back to the stillness, then I can be curious about the motivations behind people who are fearfully trying to find power and fearfully trying to dominate over other people. Because I think that the idea that the world is material is the idea that I am a thing and that you are a thing and that animals are things and that all of this can be manipulated by me to get what I want. And I think one of the most key things in what you just shared is like, we need to see when we're trying to adopt a self-seeking motive to get a better world, to get a healthy world, to get an outcome for me, that is the wrong direction. That the harmony is the motivation and the fuel for the change at the same time.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about veganism as well, as you touched on it.
Yeah.
Many people say they are vegan. There is so much misunderstanding. If obviously we need to define this type of lifestyle, to be clear during communication. Otherwise, we can't communicate, right, the message. But many might think it is a diet. Many might think it is because of health, like, selfish, again, like. And that's where when we talk with, let's say, from animal rights perspective, right, stop exploiting animals. This is actually the true definition of veganism. Expand yourself to the other animals, right, other individuals, and stop torturing them, basically, right? Stop exploiting them. And this, when we see it as you say, a personality, how to say, like another mask that we wear to look good in society. I mean, many people, they use it for that. They say, I'm vegan, and they just wear the mask, but they don't talk about animals, let's say. They just, they don't talk about the compassion that they extended to others, right? I mean, so that's important to talk when you adopt a personality and you are sharing the message. I believe it's important to say why, like show them how they must also expand their compassion onto others. It can be animals, it can be nature, other humans, as you said. The enemy mindset, that seeing others as the enemy, you are just feeding the hate. I have a concept of like friendly trauma, little friendly traumas, to undo their bigger, larger traumas. Let's say someone is eating animals and they don't care about animals, and you show them a slaughterhouse footage. That's a friendly trauma. It's not intended to hurt them. It is intended to go to their existing bigger traumas and connecting themselves, their own already instincts, natural responses, back with reality. Right? So this like targeted, friendly trauma, not with bad intention, but with good intention. I can't be okay with exploiting animals, right? So it is against compassion when you say, okay, you can do whatever you like, but I am doing my way. It is not real compassion. So it must be, in a way, a compassion that heals, covers everything, that non-vegan, animals, everything, in a kind of wise, intelligent way, which is sometimes difficult to find the balance. When you look at the animal suffering and then some real nonsense comments about, from anti-vegans, you have that, feeling coming up. But again, we can't just rely on our instincts. We need to just take a deep breath, as I said, again, create that space to feel that, okay, I'm feeling angry. Maybe I need to take a break so I can respond more healthily, more constructively. I mean, it depends in a million ways how to respond constructively. It depends on the person's past, who we are responding to, what will be the best way to what is missing, that they can't connect with others, what is missing in them that they can't just feel compassion.
I'd like to just make a quick comment on something you
Yeah.
said, that it takes this intelligence. And something my partner says that I really enjoy, he says, I don't want to insult your intelligence. And I really like this because sometimes I don't want to push anything on somebody that they're not interested in hearing and they're not ready to hear. So I try to be conscientious about who I'm speaking to and where they are at and how to most skillfully speak to them. And I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. And so what I'm hearing you say is to recognize the capacity for compassion in every person. I believe you, as someone who is eating meat, not you, but a person who's eating meat, I recognize their capacity to see what this really is. And I think this is touching on the technology as an addiction, the meat as an addiction. One of my great teachers, Bernardo Kastrup, the philosopher, analytic idealist, he talks about meat is addictive. And when we are in a loop of addiction and acting from instinct in that, give me more, then there's no space to pause. And I've had horrible comments before, and I can recognize when that feeling comes up, like, okay, what do I need? I need to pause and let the intelligence come back, because the wisdom has gone out the window because I'm hyper focused on this instinctual response. So I think the kind of giving yourself space to pause that's like one of the best teachings I have, is just like, let me just stop and just pause. So I really like your idea of the friendly traumas, and I see it as, not insulting anybody's intelligence.
The main idea to me is not showing that you have good intention, despite them showing bad intention, because they lack obviously something went very wrong in their lives. They're traumatized, so they can connect. And you need to just don't feed that part. Just let them know that you are doing this because of your good heart. It all comes down to that, basically. We must have a good heart and bring it as much as possible. It takes lots of energy sometimes and awareness, but we must do our best. We are human, and we must do our best with this.
Yeah, it's reminding me of something I do relational therapy with people, so like helping them work in their relationships with higher truth. And one of the key things as a leader in that way is to point out the truth to people that they don't really want to hear.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they do, and they don't. Something that also in that training I learned is something, it's called misery stabilizers. So maybe it's not an addiction, but it stabilizes their misery. And
Don't know about that concept.
when they're
Uh,
feeling miserable, they have the idea that will bring my misery level down. And so it's something that happens in relationship all the time. So instead of telling somebody how I really feel, I'm gonna go play a video game instead. It's gonna stabilize my misery instead of dealing with it face to face. And I think when it comes to eating meat, when it comes to depending on technology, feeling really numb all the time, however people show up in this society numb and unwell, one of the key things is to just notice where we're numbing ourselves. And then also something you mentioned is having somebody in your life that will say, I really love you, I really care about you. I don't know if what you're doing is the best thing. And to show them, like, I'm coming from this from a place of love, and I'm not doing this to shame you. So, do you have anyone in your life who holds you to accountability? Or do you have a wise mentor, partner, of friends who live this way and can help you see where you're maybe not seeing something clearly? Or
luckily, my wife is vegan, so I can have a relationship because I wouldn't be able to sustain a daily relationship with a non-vegan in a close manner, because it is something else to do, to interact with them, to heal them. Other than that, mentor-wise, I mean, I learned from almost everything. As you said, like bad people, I learn how not to behave. From good people, I learn how to behave. My biggest mentor is Mother Nature. I know how harmony looks like, thanks to her. And I always keep that harmony in mind. Other teachers, Thich Nhat Hanh, you have mentioned, and others, um, they taught me a lot, especially in the beginning when I started this, learning about this, let's say wisdom or expanding yourself onto others, living in harmony. First thing when I started learning, they helped me a lot. Now I rely less, let's say, on them and more on awareness, because I already kind of established some level of this, awareness. So like creating this space and realizing what is going on and taking the right action, which is like Zen philosophy, for example. The right action is based on this basically. If you don't know the harmony, how can you act rightly, right? So every day, I'm learning, improving in my own ways, but I think I feel that I have learned the most important things already. That is having a good heart, and everything comes from a good heart, and the harmony, respecting that harmony is showing good heart. That's the definition of showing a good heart, to respect that harmony. I do vegan animal rights activism in content, not on YouTube, because I realize how far we drifted away from nature. These animals, they are bred into existence very unnatural ways. For example, in the past they were giving 12 eggs a year, just like or 15 eggs, just like a normal menstruation cycle. But now they are giving every day, so it's like very unnatural conditions. So I do this because I just talk about veganism because I see this is wrong. Why it is wrong? Because it's unnatural.
it reminded me that um, I'm very much trying to teach people about how we are taught to believe that we're living in a mechanical world and that we are mechanical, and that everything we've been taught is normal is really not normal. It is just benefiting a system that is supposedly mechanical, and it's not. It's conscious. And that the act of eating meat, the way I connect this is that the act of eating meat is to normalize that system within one's own body. And I don't specifically tell people the first thing that you need to do is go vegan. I think it's extremely practical because it is making that decision to stop participating in acting like I'm a machine and acting like animals are a machine because
It's
there's no division.
immediate connection. Yeah.
It's immediate. It's very clear.
Direct.
It's direct. And there are all these ways that we can do it. And I think that eating less meat, eating preferably none, is a really great way to start. And I will say my story is slightly different because my partner was already on board with awareness, the truth, deconstructing materialism. So we had all of our values were very close, but he ate meat. And it was, like I told you before we started the video, I surrendered everything to spirit. Like, I'm going to surrender everything. And this feels right. This to be with this person. And I would ask him, please don't cook that in the house. So you cook it outside. And he was very great about that until slowly he didn't want it anymore. It was just, it didn't feel right. And so I think that these can come in different orders. But I think eventually when we're really awakening to really who we are consciousness, that consciousness doesn't do that to itself. Consciousness can't do that to itself and still feel true, whole, right? I can't murder someone that I love. I can't abuse someone that I love, truly. And maybe it starts in different ways than that. We all have different paths, but I really appreciate how you're giving people a pretty easy, direct way to just take a step towards living more honestly, more authentically. And I really believe once the addiction is out of the body, once I stopped drinking, once I stopped doing substances, things changed very fast for me. And I think that part of it is the withdrawal. You get through that withdrawal stage, and then my whole life changed drastically and intimacy became possible. So I think it might seem like, oh, veganism, that's extreme. But the extreme benefits that come that have nothing to do with food after, I think are completely worth it. They're so worth it.
We all start somewhere. I mean, I wasn't vegan 7 years ago. If you talk with me, I was just starting, exploitation of animals. It is, it's a Holocaust, they say. It's the biggest Holocaust, the longest Holocaust that's ongoing, and it's urgent. And we want to fix it urgently. Of course, at first, we need to tell them, stop it now. It's urgent. But if they don't get it, then again, like hating on them, like etc. This won't fix it. So we must build slow, step by step, that compassion in them, undo their traumas, and it is the most difficult thing to do, to heal the traumas. And people, as you said, now we perceive the world as materialistic. That's why people, when they're traumatized, they try to cover themselves with materials. They want a big house, they want the latest model of this phone and a car, because if you think that you are made of materials, you cover yourself with materials. If you want to feel better, if you want, to find peace and happiness, you need to realize that the others' happiness, peace is your happiness and peace.
Yeah, and I think
that must be done.
Maybe the last thing I'll say about this is I think for me on my path, it began with my inner concept of life and to really be curious about like what is the source of my life, and to, like you mentioned, awareness, to really find out what is awareness and can I be aware of awareness more often. And it was a ripple effect. And my conception of consuming and hyperconsumption is that the idea is that life is out there and that I need to take life in to feel alive. And I found that to be completely untrue, and that the source of life is awareness, is consciousness itself, and that the source is in me. And so there's no lack of life here. And it doesn't take anything to know that. It just takes some pausing and some curiosity, and there's a lot of peace there.
It is, many people don't realize it. Like it is magic. We don't know consciousness. That's why science hates these type of topics, because it can't control, it doesn't even know what it is, right? Consciousness is magic. That's why, if as everything is consciousness, because we only experience consciousness, everything is magic. And they want to control. When they try to control with fear, and they create these hierarchical systems that are unnatural, and they drift away from this embracing mystery, embracing magic, just trusting that there is such a magic and it works. Magic will work itself out. That's why I find your work very extremely valuable, because it goes directly to the core of what is missing in people. It is realizing that you are consciousness, and everything is consciousness. All the animals that you torture, they are consciousness. They are you. They are same as you, and all the things, like the same when you, instead of seeing a person as a being, you see them as material, as meat, and you try to get the meat. You try to cut the meat and consume the meat, and you try to cut down the trees because it's like the meat of the nature, right? You just cut down the trees and use it, consume it. And when you lose the understanding of consciousness, that it's magic, it leads you to evil. That's in my book is my definition of evil, basically being ignorant to harmony, being ignorant to this consciousness, the oneness. And it is the most important thing. The system doesn't want people becoming more spiritual, unfortunately, but we must do our best within our means. And most important message is right here, that what we are talking. I mean, all this education system, all the mathematics, chemistry, throw it into garbage. It doesn't do any good. This is the real deal. This is the real deal. If you don't know this, you are lost, unfortunately.
And it's simple. I think it's a
that's
helpful
simple.
message.
It's the simplest thing, but the most overlooked thing.
Simple and the most overlooked.
Yeah.
Well, I am so glad you wanted to talk about this. I think that it kind of rounds out our conversation really nicely. What you were just
thank you so much.
sharing, and it's so interconnected. What I love, as you said, like all of this is consciousness. So really, we could talk about any conversation, and it would come right back to that. And I want to treat you, and I want to treat others as I would want myself to be treated, right? That's myself, consciousness. So I think it's a really beautiful message, and it's a courageous message you're putting out there. I really hope that anyone listening to this also looks at some of your other work. Can you quickly say how people could find you? Is there anywhere?
Wise and Vegan is my YouTube channel. If they Google The Connections 2021 short documentary, go watch it and share it around.
Excellent. I'll put that in the description, and you can find me at wholenesswisdom.com and my YouTube, the Wholeness Wisdom Podcast. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you very much, Erin.